Hey guys, what's going on? This is Fred2266 here, and like I promised yesterday, I am here to read Chapter 4 of the Sweetie Chronicles Fragments. Let's see how much popular this gets every chapter, because this is my most popular fan fiction reading, and I can see why. It's a very good story, read by what people would call a very good, what the hell, I'm tooting my own horn too much! What people would call a, good fan fiction reader. Do I believe this? No. But, that doesn't mean I don't like to read, doesn't mean I won't read. So, we're going to read, because that's what you came here for, not me be stupid. So let's go! Last chapter ended with us, the bombshell being dropped that Sweetie Belle is supposed to be dead in this universe. What fanfiction does this play off? Well, the chapter is entitled The Light Never Goes Out, so that fanfiction. Yeah, let's do it. Sweetie's eyes were stuck on the reflection in the mirror. Instead of her normal appearance, the mirror that looked back at her was, well, taller. Her eyes were the same color, but her horn was longer and her mane, and she looked at her flank. Aw, no cutie mark? Who are you? Rarity's voice was cracking with fury and pain as she glared at the mirror in front of her, drawing Sweetie's attention away from the mirror. How dare you use her face? Do you not have any shame, no respect, a sense of decency? Sweetie Belle stepped back, looking at Rarity in confusion. Sis? What's wrong? Don't you dare call me that! The elder unicorn shook her head, tears welling in her eyes and her voice breaking. Magic enveloped her horn, and soon the fire poker she had dropped earlier was being waved dangerously close to Sweetie's face. Why do you torture me? Who are you? Is Discord free again? Did he create you to punish me? Is this one of his slick little games? I don't know. Isn't Discord a statue again? Sweetie stumbled backwards as the tip of the poker hovered in front of her. Sis, why are you acting like this? She asked, shaking. Silence! Rarity growled. Don't call me sister! My Sweetie is dead! She glared at Sweetie Belle. I never expected any pony would use her face to get to me. Her eyes narrowed further. Is this an attempt to kill the elements? Kill the elements? Sweetie blinked. But why would I kill my own sister? She shook her head violently. Or my teacher! If something happened to Twilight again. She shuddered. And you know what Scootaloo and Applebloom would do to me if I did something to her Rainbow Dash or Applejack? Rarity shook her head slowly. Her eyes took in the figure in front of her. The coat. The mane. You have no cutie mark. My Sweetie had her cutie mark. Oh! I wonder what it was. I'm seriously interested in that. Sweetie looked back at her flank, the act reminding her that she was no longer a filly. She looked older, as old as Rarity herself. This is so strange. Sis, I don't know how to explain this. I am Sweetie Belle. I guess I should give her an older voice then. I am Sweetie Belle, just not... She took a deep breath. Just not the Sweetie Belle from your world. I'm looking for something, and once I find it, I'll be gone. I promise. Finally, she just dropped the bombshell as soon as she got there. I was getting a little bit sick and tired the first couple chapters, and it took over halfway through the Sweetie Belle just spilled the beans. I'm not from your planet. I come in peace. Thank you. She let it out there. Now the tension won't kill me. Ew, spit. Ew. Rarity looked at the cowering mare doubtfully, but slowly lowered the poker. Why should I believe you? We have made so many powerful enemies throughout the years. Some of them would be able to recreate my sister. She paused. If you say you're a Sweetie Belle, why should I believe you? Sweetie was scared, and her eyes showed it. Because, she whispered, because I wouldn't know what else to do. I don't have any pony to help me. You really don't know. The fashion designer shook her head, walking around her sister. I don't know whether to believe you or not. Your voice is the same. Your eyes are so much more innocent. Where I come from, I haven't even earned my cutie mark yet. Sweetie said with a small smile and a slight nod. Applebloom and Scootaloo haven't either. She looked at her much bigger body. It looks like growing up doesn't get me one automatically. Rarity sat down, her energy drained. You're young. So young. But how? Why do you look older now?" "I don't know!" Sweetie exclaimed. "I've been traveling from world to world trying to find fragments of twilight. I think one of them will take me home. I've only been to 2 more other worlds before, but I've never seen an adult before." Sweetie fell silent as Rarity slowly stretched a hoof to touch Sweetie's face. The filly remained in the same position as her sister's hoof brushed her mane and then slowly, hesitantly, drew her into a warm hug. "Sweetie, I've missed you. You're not angry?" The younger unicorn asked, for her question went unanswered as Rarity started crying. "Sis?" These weren't the dramatic tears or the overdone whining. This was real. Rarity was a mess. Her eyes puffy, her nose snotty, her mane in disarray. She sobbed and let the tears flow, soaking Sweetie's neck and holding the younger unicorn tighter. She didn't answer at all. She just couldn't. She cried and wept and sobbed. Sweetie held her tight, confused and a bit scared by the muffled, "I'm sorry," she could hear her sister whisper over and over. After a few moments, tears started to run down Sweetie's eyes as well, and she held her sister tighter. She didn't know why, but she couldn't stop herself. Was Rarity the one that killed her or something? I don't know what's going on here. It is sad, like I was warned. If I cry, I'm sorry. The only two sorry, just gonna pause right here for a moment. I've only cried from 2 fan fictions, not just My Little Pony. 2 fan fictions from any TV show, any video game, anything. My Little Dashie and Pretty in Pink. You guys should read Pretty in Pink. It's really good. Damn sad. Only 2. This might be the 3rd. I can't. If I cry, I'm sorry. Cry with me, brother. And sister, cry with me together. Let's get back to reading. Shut up. They remained like that for a long time. When Rarity was able to pull back and run a hoof over her eyes, Sweetie sniffed as she looked at her sister. "Sis, what happened?" Rarity coughed as she slowly stood up. She sighed. "Let us go downstairs. We can discuss things over tea." Sweetie nodded and followed her sister out of the room and down the stairs. As they walked, Sweetie looked around curiously. The building looked older. It was as well maintained as ever, but here and there the paint looked new. There was also no sign of opalescence. Usually the white cat would be purring around Rarity at the slightest excuse. There were many little things that would draw her attention, but it wasn't until she saw the windows that she noticed they were completely different from what she had remembered. They still looked great with the design of the boutique, as Rarity wouldn't have it otherwise, but they were different. The frames were thinner for one. "Sweetie," Rarity called, startling the younger unicorn, who realized she had been standing at the bottom of the stairs and staring at the room. Sweetie Belle quickly trotted to the table and sat down. "Sorry, sis. This place looks different," she trailed off when she noticed that Rarity was levitating a small envelope before her with a sad look in her eyes. Rarity closed her eyes as she floated the note towards her younger sister, depositing it on the table in front of the younger unicorn. "I want you to read this, and then I'll explain." Sweetie stared at the envelope. It had been opened and it looked really old. It had only one word written on it. Rarity. For some reason, she felt a sense of dread coming from the single piece of paper. "This is silly. It's just a note." Sweetie looked up at Rarity, who was dressed in a light blue nightgown with matching cuffs around her fetlocks. "She looks so fragile and tired." Sweetie looked back at the envelope. The slightly yellowed piece of paper seemed to carry enormous weight to it. Slowly, her horn lit up as she carefully levitated the envelope and opened it, sliding out the simple note inside. Still fearing the words inside, did she kill herself? Is that a suicide note? I'm just guessing. Still fearing the words inside, she forced herself to unfold the note and read. "Rarity, by the time you read this, it will have happened. Please, do not be sad, and do not do anything stupid. I love you. I always have done, and always will do. Even through every argument we've had, I love you. Live your generous life to its fullest, no matter how long it will be. Your loving sister, Sweetie Belle." What the fuck happened? Sweetie slowly lowered the note until it gently lay on top of the table. She stared at it uncomprehendingly, trying to wrap her mind around the confusing feelings of fear and pity that the simple words had evoked in her. "I found that a week after you Rarity whispered, her voice breaking through Sweetie's scattered thoughts. The elder unicorn shook her head, unwilling to complete her earlier sentence. I watched you grow, earn your cutie mark, discover what truly made you happy. I saw you be happy, and touch the hearts of many. Sweetie's eyes drifted downwards to Rarity's cuffed hooves, which she self-consciously hid under the table. I am immortal, Sweetie, Rarity said, locking eyes with Sweetie Belle. We all are. The elements. I thought only alicorns were immortal. Never mind. We all are. The elements, I mean. She shook her head, turning away, not daring to look Sweetie in the eye any longer, lest she break into tears again. It's been 200 years since we freed Princess Luna from Nightmare Moon. That's a long time ago, the designer continued. All 6 of us would have lived our lives since then. We've lost so much. The pain in Rarity's voice was so strong. Sweetie Belle had a dawning, horrifying feeling of where this was going, and she didn't want to bring that much pain to her sister. Rarity sighed. But when I lost you, Sweetie, what was I like? Sweetie Belle interrupted. Did I have any foals? Who did I marry? What was my cutie mark? Rarity stopped and chuckled. I won't tell you your cutie mark, or who and if you married, the elder unicorn said, laughing a bit at the pout her younger sister immediately developed. But you became a singer. You sang a great many beautiful songs about love, about life. She looked down. About loss. Sweetie's eyes were wide. I became a singer? Was I famous? Rarity choked a bit, sniffling as she chuckled. Yes, you were, Sweetie. The clock marked the time with a short, cheerful melody, and both mares looked at it in surprise. Oh my, Rarity gasped. Look at the time. We should head to bed. We can talk more in the morning. Sweetie Belle yawned, barely remembering to cover her mouth with her hoof. Yeah. I haven't slept since... I don't even remember. The 2 mares slowly made their way upstairs. Rarity? The elder mare stopped. Yes, Sweetie? Could you... She blushed a bit. Can I spend the night with you? She looked down, embarrassed. Rarity blinked and chuckled. Aren't you a bit old for that, Sweetie? The younger mare nodded, slowly turning towards the room. I guess. It'll be okay, Rarity said, running her hoof through her sister's mane. Thank you for worrying, Sweetie. I'll still be here tomorrow. She looked away for a second. Always. Sweetie nodded and hugged her sister. Good night, Rarity. I'll see you in the morning. The 2 mares went into their rooms, but unlike any other night in their lives, they could not bring themselves to close the doors. As Rarity lay down in bed, she sighed, looking at the other room. Slowly her horn started glowing as feather, ink, and parchment floated to her. Down the hall, Sweetie lay down in bed, silent. Her thoughts were a whirlwind. She had never thought something like this would happen. Her thoughts turned to Rarity, who had seemed so lost. At least she has her friends, right? Don't jinx it, please. It was then that she realized that, if she had died of old age, then Applebloom and Scootaloo were gone too. Oh, so it was just old age. Okay, it was 200 years, so I can understand that. The thought hit her like a ton of bricks. She could only stare at the ceiling as tears trickled down her cheeks. Even if they were from another world, their absence was something that she could not fathom. What had their lives been like? Had they married? Had foals? What was my damn cutie mark? I don't know why I gave her that voice. I'm sorry. She sniffed as she closed her eyes. Maybe tomorrow she would have a chance to ask Rarity. Maybe even Rainbow Dash or Applejack. Oh, Applejack! Her sister's voice roused the apple farmer from where she was overseeing her workers sorting and putting the harvested apples away in the neatly stacked boxes. Applebloom? What's going on? Applejack, help me! Is this the same universe? I think so. I don't know. I'm just going to let Applebloom sound like she did in the last chapter. Hickey. That's not a word. Hickish. Southern and young. God. I'm used to calling people Hicks. Sorry. The elder Earth Pony was already running towards their orchard, where Applebloom's screams were coming from. She arrived in time. Her sister was being pushed towards a deep ravine by a dark green magical field of some sort. Applebloom was struggling to stay in place. Thinking quickly, she tried to lasso her sister, but a rope fell short. She wasn't going to make it. Sis, help me! I'm gonna fall! The younger Earth Pony shouted in horror as her rear hooves slipped on the edge of the ravine. sending bits of debris scattering into the darkness. "Who's doing this?" The apple farmer turned around, looking for the unicorn responsible. Then she saw her, the purple and soft pink mane, the white coat. "Sweetie Belle," she gasped. "What are you doing? There's Apple Bloom. She's your friend." Oh, this is a dream. Okay. A pair of green, slitted eyes locked with Applejack's own green eyes. I'm gonna give Sweetie Belle it's gonna be epic voice. "I don't have friends, Applejack." The unicorn's horns flashed, and the apple farmer turned in horror to see her sister shoved into the ravine. "Applejack! Apple Bloom!" Applejack shouted back as she ran up to the ravine and looked down. It was so dark, she couldn't see anything. Her sister was completely gone. "Why did you do this?" she shouted, tears of anger forming in her eyes as she turned around and confront Sweetie Belle. Why comfort her? She just killed your sister. She took a startled step back when she found herself snout to snout with the white unicorn. Her hooves scrambled for support as she started sliding to the ravine. "I needed her to die so I could live." Sweetie Belle grinned, showing rows of fangs, leaning forward for a snake-like tongue to lick Applejack's cheek. And this is supposed to be sad? I'm kind of excited. Applejack stepped back and lost her balance, screaming as she fell into the darkness, and landed on the floor next to her bed. "Oh," she moaned as she slowly stood up and blinked at her room. Shaking her head, she looked out the window. Celestia hadn't risen in the sun yet, but Luna's moon wasn't in sight either. The orchard simply stretched into the horizon in the foggy morning. "Fifth time this week," she sighed as she left the room to get ready for the day. She knew she would get no more sleep that night. Tired as she might be, there was no work to be done. As she left the room, her eyes strayed to the chest containing Apple Bloom's ribbon. She caught her breath, remembering the dream, but the sturdier earth pony shook her head, put on her hat, and stepped out. The sunlight seeping through the window woke her up. Rarity groaned. I was expecting a dream from Rainbow Dash. Oh well. Rarity groaned and looked around her room. "A dream?" she sighed, closing her eyes. "Wonderful and horrible at the same time," she sniffed, then sniffed again. "What?" The fire alarm started ringing. "She burned juice again." "A fire? But how?" She rolled out of bed, barely even able to put her hooves down in time, and scrambled down the stairs. "Did I leave the oven on again?" Her hoof slipped on the stair, but Rarity caught herself on the rail just in time. She looked up at the kitchen in horror just as the room-filling smoke began to waft out off the now open window. She stared as a purple and pink maned unicorn in the kitchen groaned in annoyance. "I hate it when that happens!" Sweetie Belle sighed heavily, her attention focused on the smoldering skillet as she levitated off the stove. "Just take your eyes off it for 1 second, and there it goes. Sweetie!" Oh, that was one of excitement, not displeasure. "Sweetie!" Rarity gasped, the memory of the previous night crashing down on her like cold water. You're really here!" Sweetie turned around, eyes wide. "I'm sorry, sis. I took my eyes off the last pancake for just a second and..." Sweetie fell silent as Rarity's hoof suddenly wrapped around her. "It's okay. We can eat out." Returning the hug, Sweetie smiled. "It's fine, sis. That was just the last of the batch. The others are fine. Oh, God, it's starting to rain. Oh, Missouri. It was 80 degrees a couple hours ago. Now it's raining. Ugh, whatever. If you hear it, I'm sorry." Returning the hug, Sweetie smiled. "It's fine, sis. That was just the last of the batch. The others are fine." Rarity blinked and looked around the kitchen. "But what others, darling?" With a grin, Sweetie opened the oven and levitated a plate full of pancakes out. "Princess Celestia's favorite pancakes!" "With bananas on them?" That was a horrible joke, she proudly announced. "Spike taught me how to make them." How does Spike know what Princess... I'm not even going to ask questions. Rarity's eyes filled with sadness, even as a small smile played on her lips. "I see. Spike was always a fine chef. Is Spike dead too, I'm guessing then? He was even younger than the Cutie Mark Crusaders, but I'm guessing he's... Dragons live a long time, I don't know. She did say was always I don't know. Maybe we'll get answers later. Hopefully." She chuckled as she quickly turned around. "Come, let's set up the table." The two worked in silence, enjoying each other's company despite the feelings boiling within them. Every time Rarity looked at Sweetie, the long-buried memories would float to the surface. "Sis, I got the part! I get to sing in Manhattan!" Rarity carefully put a plate down on top of the light green tablecloth. "I don't know. Does this dress make me look old?"
He's such a gentle colt.
Oh, the forks and knives floated out of the drawer.
He's such a gentle colt, and he invited me to have dinner at Le Bridal. I love fusion cuisine.
Rarity carefully levitated a pair of glasses, aware that Sweetie was taking out the orange juice.
Sis, I wrote this for Spike. Do you think he would listen to it?
The silverware was now in place. She had done it mechanically, not even thinking about it.
He left me. Why did he leave me? He said he loved me.
Rarity sighed.
How do you measure a lifetime?
She whispered quietly to herself.
Did you say something, sis?
Sweetie asked. Oh, nothing important, dear.
Oh.
Sweetie smiled hesitantly as the pair sat down.
Rarity?
Yes, dear?
Did you ever marry? Have foals of your own?
No, Rarity sighed. There was never time with work, Sweetie. You know how I get caught with designing new clothes. And as for family and such, I watched you from afar, living that part vicariously through you. She trailed off when she noticed her younger sister staring blankly at her. It means I enjoyed watching you live your life.
Oh, I see,
Sweetie Belle said as she caught on. Rarity chuckled as she tried one of the pancakes. Her eyes widened. It was indeed Spike's recipe.
This is amazing, Sweetie! Oh, it brings back so many memories!
The younger unicorn giggled.
What? Doesn't Spike make them anymore?
Oh. Rarity drew in a sharp breath.
Sweetie, Spike he's no longer with us.
Oh, God. But dragons supposed to live a long time. What the heck?
Oh, Sweetie blinked. Did he go join the other dragons? Poor Twilight. She must be so lonely without a number one assistant.
No, Sweetie. God. Just let her think that, though. I don't want Spike to be dead.
No, Sweetie.
The elder unicorn stammered and collected herself.
Sweetie, Spike, he passed away some years ago.
All the blood drained from Sweetie's face.
What? But...
As the memories of the little dragon came to her, she felt tears forming in her eyes.
But Spike, he helped me so much when I became Twilight's apprentice. He taught me how to look through the book code and bookshelves to find what I needed. How to make tea and pancakes. She
cut herself off, head hanging low as she sniffled softly.
How did it happen?
As Rarity slowly began to explain, Sweetie's mind was busy thinking about her own Spike.
I haven't thought of him in a while. Could he have died when I destroyed the lab?
Sweetie's thoughts seemed to reflect on her face as Rarity slowly stopped talking and observed her sister's darkening expression.
I don't remember how strong the explosion was, but it seemed strong. Could the library have survived it? Did Spike also get trapped in the spell? Could he also be lost in other worlds? Sweetie?
Her sister's voice interrupted her thoughts.
Huh?
Sweetie shook her head.
I'm sorry, sis.
Tell me about it, Rarity said, and her look brooked no argument. Sweetie sighed.
I'm afraid something might have happened to my Spike.
Slowly she sank down into her seat, pancakes forgotten.
When the lab exploded, Spike was in the other room, right next to it. He could be suffering through the same thing I am. What if he's lost? What if he's dead? And it's because of me.
Her eyes slowly raised until they met Rarity's.
Sis, what if I killed Spike?
Rarity felt cold. What could she tell her sister? She closed her eyes and took a deep breath.
Sweetie, I really don't know what to tell you, but I doubt the explosion would have gotten to him. Twilight's tree is very old. Its roots are strong and thick, and Spike is also very resistant.
She trailed off, remembering the dragon's mortality all too well, but it seemed to work as the younger unicorns looked up, sniffing.
I hope so. I think so, too.
Sweetie Belle looked unsure.
I'm just afraid, sis. This is my longest I've ever been away from my own home. By myself. Oh, Sweetie,
Rarity sighed as she touched her sister's hoof.
I know how you feel, but you are not alone, and you should know that. For every world you visit, you'll always have me. Always.
Ah. Sweetie Belle's small smile played around the corners of her mouth. Rarity nodded.
Now, let us eat these wonderful pancakes before they get too cold. Oh, right!
Watching her sister start to eat, Rarity smiled. After the pair finished eating and cleaning up, they stepped outside, admiring the clear skies and warm weather.
You were right, sis. This is too good a day to waste inside.
As they trotted down the street, Sweetie took her first look around New Ponyville, future Ponyville. The town itself looked pretty similar to what it was before. She could see the Syracuse corner, the city hall, and a little behind it, looking taller than ever,